So here we have the watercolour snowman digital background opened up into Photoshop, and the first thing you want to do is make sure you can see your layers panel. If you can't see the layers panel, come up here to window and choose layers. So when you can see your layers panel here, you'll notice there's rather a lot to play with. An orange layer is selected. This is place your subject here. This is where you add the baby layer in. If you put the baby layer in here, it's in just the right place for the layers above and the layers below. You have 3 different backgrounds to choose from. Automatically it'll be one of the snowmen backgrounds here. You can turn these on or off using the I key, the little toggle in the box here. So if you click snowman with snow background, you get this whiteness along the bottom, or just a normal snowman background, or you can just have the bowl without the snowman. You also, right at the top, you have the year, so you can turn this on and off. You see where it says 2023 right now, you can turn that on or off. If you open the drop down, I've given you 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 and 28. So you can use these years. You can also add your own, you can add your own date, you could add baby's name, just by adding a text layer in there in Photoshop, but I've popped these in there for you just to use. You can turn Merry Christmas and the year on or off as well if you want to. So it gives you a lot of flexibility here as to what you want to do. So let's click on the orange layer, place your subject here, and we're going to place the baby image in. Now if you've done your skin editing first, make sure it's nice and light, it's going to be a lot easier. Also, if you can shoot on like a white fluff or a kind of a loose curls from above, that's going to make this composite so much easier for you. If you've shot on like, a brown blanket or something, you're going to need to do a lot of masking and a lot of shading. It's not impossible if you've got the Photoshop skills, or at least the patience to do that, because it does take a little bit of patience, which is why I recommend shooting on something white and fluffy. So I'm going to come up here to, what did I just do? I'm going to come up here to File and choose Place Embedded. And you're going to want to locate the baby image on your computer. Make sure the light's coming from the same direction. So in the digital background, the light is coming from the top left down, which is luckily the same as in this baby image. It's coming from the top left. If the baby image, for example, this way, the light isn't going to match, because you see in the image the light's coming from the right. In the digital, the light's coming from the left. So if that's the case, you need to right click and choose Flip Horizontal. At this stage of the edit, I like to take the opacity down while I'm resizing the baby, so I can just make sure that they fit in nicely. At this point you can rotate, you can pop them wherever you want to pop them. In the bowl, just make sure they're fitting in there nicely, they don't look too teeny weeny. If you can get baby nice and curled, I shot this on the Perfect Posy from Graceland Designs. It's a really great posing aid to have in your studio. Next up, I'm going to come up here to Select and choose Subject. If you're on an old version of Photoshop, you won't have Select Subject, and as you can see, it doesn't always do the best job anyway. So I'm going to hit create a layer mask there. It's taken some of the selection off, but not all of it. A layer mask is just this little icon down here, the little rectangle with the circle in, and it pops a layer mask on. What's hidden is in black and what's showing is in white. So I'm going to grab a black brush and I'm just going to start coming around the edge here, bring that flow up a little bit, just to start masking away. And again, if you've shot baby on a plain blanket, a brown blanket, something like that, your masking is going to be, you're going to need to zoom in and refine a little more. But because we've shot this one on a kind of a white curly blanket, I can just use the white brush to bring some of that in and blend it with what's already there in the digital. Makes life so much easier, because then you can focus on the fun edits. So I'm just going to dab that around. Nice and easy. So here we have baby in, before and after. You have some other layers too. You have a brush for darken, a brush for brighten and a brush for warm. All, if you've placed the baby in the correct place using File Place Embedded, these will be clipped in. So for example, the darken brush, you could use this to paint in some shadows if you wanted to, like this. The brighten brush, you can use this to brighten any areas you want to. And the warm brush, if your baby's looking a little bit cool, you can use the warm to brush a little bit of warmth on there. And you can turn these on or off, you can play with black or white brushes with those. If you've added baby in and you've had to do a really detailed cutout of baby, I've popped a shadow brush here, so let me show you how that one works. Let's go and find another image to pop in, Place Embedded. How about we go for this little guy here, shot by Anna Brandt. So I'm going to flip this horizontal so the light is coming from the same position. Take that opacity down. At any point you can go on YouTube. There are other LSP Actions tutorials. There's also LSP Action digital background applicator kit you can get on the website that goes into digital background. And add a layer mask. And what we're going to do, I'll show you how to do this without making subject selection if you're on an older version. So we're going to come onto the layer mask, choose a black brush, bring the flow and the opacity up quite hard, and we're just going to start painting the background away. Bring the opacity of that layer up a little bit. So you want a rough selection to start with when you're masking baby in. So I'm just getting rid of anything excess. So now I'm coming in and we're just going to start refining this selection a little bit better. Depending on which version of Photoshop you're using, you'll have lots of different types of selection tools and selection options. Everything in Photoshop, there's 10 ways to kind of achieve the same result really, so it depends what you're used to working with. But I'm just masking, so you can see here we have the black where we're painting areas away. The image is still there. That's the great thing about layer masks rather than erasing. So I'm just going to zoom in now and refine our selection even better. I always find the trickiest thing when masking newborn is hair and fluff. So I'm going to come around the edge using a white brush to paint areas in if I accidentally go over, and a black brush to paint areas away. Using keyboard shortcuts to move around by switching to H for hand, like this, to drag, B for brush, and I've got my finger on the X keys to switch easily between black and white. So you want to get that selection as good as you can. Ideally, if you're shooting for digital backgrounds, you want to shoot f5.6 if you can, just to keep things nice and sharp. Okay, so we've cut baby out, but they're very obviously floating there now in the digital. So what we need to do now is we need to start adding some shadows to kind of bed them in. But you're not always going to get the best result when you don't shoot on a similar kind of colour and toning and texture to the original digital. So do try and shoot on white if you can for this one. So first of all, the brush shadows. This is underneath the baby layer. So I'm just going to take the opacity down and we're just going to start adding a little bit of darkness in there. What we may need to do is adjust this a little bit, but again this comes with knowing your layers in Photoshop and what you can do. So I'm going to turn these back on. These are originally, whoops, because I've added two in, so I'm just going to clip them in here, hide our original baby there. Okay, and we have a darken brush, so I'm going to use this just to start darkening up around the baby as well, a little bit on this end. Brightening up around here, around these edges. And perhaps a little bit of warmth just to kind of start adapting these blues, but I'm probably going to take the opacity down on this one. So now what we're going to want to do is add a little bit more darker shadows behind the baby. So I'm going to click any layer underneath the baby. You can click on the Place Your Subject Here layer. Down to the adjustments, I'm adding levels in, and I'm just going to darken now, and I'm looking for the area underneath baby right now. The whole image is darkening, but I'm looking for this area, pulling in some darks. Control or Command I to invert. And we're just going to add some of those shadows in. Black brush to add, and a white brush to add, and a black brush to hide. So now we've bedded baby in a little better. So before and after there. All sticking with our original baby, so you can see how much easier it was to edit the original baby in and how much more realistic that looks because we've already got a baby on a similar kind of background. So that baby looks very bedded in. And this baby, we've added shadows, we've bedded him in, and the blues do look really, really cute. But again, if you can shoot on the white curls, it's going to make life easier for you. So I hope you love using this digital background. I can't wait to see what you do with it. Please do tag me in the LSP Actions group, because I'd really, really love to see. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this. Merry Christmas.